Welcome to Cowboy Sunday. Isn't that fun? The great psychiatrist Carl Jung, who was the founder of what we know as analytical psychiatry, said that throughout all of history, all of us in religion or in political science or in ethics or social studies of all kinds understand that we as human beings have been relating to each other and to this world on a foundation of what he called archetypes. Archetypes are those great symbols that we have of a way of being. And we've held those archetypes as people. And what I want to suggest to you today is that in our culture, the cowboy is an archetype. And I want to show how you might be able to get in touch with your inner cow person, to be politically correct, as that may be. Now, when we talk about having a country western Sunday or a cowboy Sunday, I know a lot of people right away, they wrinkle up their face. Because most people, when they think of cowboy stuff, they think of country music, and a lot of people don't like country music. And there's a reason for that. Country music has had way more than its own share of some pretty hokey, funky songs. So I made a small collection of those to share with you because I want you to know that I understand.
Now we must face it, you give me a pain. How can I miss you when you won't go away?
Is that nice?
My wife ran off, my best friend. Lord, I sure do miss him. She said, you're not gonna do this anymore. She said, I'm gonna hire a wino to decorate our home, so you'll feel more at ease here and you won't need to roam.
So we finally had our breakup, but since then I have found I'm so miserable without you, it's like having you around. Bottle after bottle, I tried to turn back every day. Then I finally reached the point of no return.
It's not her heart, Lord, it's her mind. She didn't mean to be unkind. Why, she even woke me up to say goodbye.
The last word in lonesome is me. The last word in lonesome is me.
See what I mean? Well, they're really good fun songs. Country music is extremely versatile music. I want to share with you a song that is not sad. It isn't about being drunk. It's not about losing a girlfriend or a boyfriend or a dog. It's just fun. And I'm going to invite you to sing along too. I took a trip to Switzerland where all the yodelers be, to learn me how to yodel with my yodel-odel-oo-hee. I climbed a big tall mountain on a clear and sunny day. I chanced upon a Swedish miss in a little town chalet, and she taught me how to yodel. Yodel-odel-oo-hee, yodel-odel-oo-hee, yodel-oo-hee. Adi-ho-de, yodel-odel-ee, ho-dee-del-odel-ee. Well, now I'm gonna teach you how to yodel just like me. It's easy when you're singing to go yodel-odel-oo-hee. Together, yodel-odel-oo-hee. That was really good. First you take a deep breath, and then you exhale 1, 2, 3. And then you'll find yourself a yodeling just the same as me. Well, this is how to yodel. Here we go. Yodel, 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 yodel. That was good. Adi-o-de, yodel-o-de, adi-do-do-de, adi-o-de, yodel, adi-do-do-de. Here we go now. Adi-o-de, yodel-o-de, yodel-o-de, adi-o-de, yodel-o-de. Clap for trash. I'll tell you when to clap for the good stuff. Alethea, you did it. You did it. We've been trying to get it right all morning. Awesome. Okay, so that was just kind of for fun to get your attention. For those of us who grew up in the Western kind of American culture, and I found out even people here in Hawaii, we had our cowboy archetypes. Now, granted that the cowboys that we talk about, when we talk about cowboys, they were an evolution, I know, from whatever and whoever the original kind of pioneers of the prairie were. Thanks to television, radio, and all the media, we sort of grew up with an image. But everything evolves like that. Christianity's evolved into its own kind of image now as a result of those things. And Buddhism has changed. Everything is changing as a result of all the technology and the media. I did some research on some of the cowboy heroes that we grew up with. And what I found was that each one of them was not only a hero in the media of his day, whether it was radio or television or films, but he also had a following of people that now we might call a fan club, but in those days they didn't call them fan clubs. If you were a member, you were a ranger, or you were a junior cadet, or you were a junior marshal, or they weren't called fans, they were called, you belonged to this little cowboy club. And I did some research on all of the different clubs, and they all had a code of ethics, a code for the members of their club. And I want to share with you some of the teachings from their code, because their code gives us a clue to what their archetype was. It gives us a clue to the kind of foundation of the kind of people that these folks were and what they were teaching. And I want you to see how absolutely universal it is and how powerful it is. The first one is this fellow, Gene Autry. Now, you know this is old because it's black and white, and so some of you are looking like, I appreciate the fact that you don't have a clue who this is. So you're probably all under 30 or 40. But the rest of us, we might know who this is. Gene Autry he was obviously a big radio star and television and movies, but he had a group too. And these are some of the teachings that came in his cowboy code that he was giving his fans. He said, a cowboy always tells the truth. A cowboy is free from racial and religious intolerances. We could use that all the time. A cowboy is kind and gentle to small children, old folks, and animals. And that pretty much includes all of us as well here too today. The next one is Hopalong Cassidy. Some of you are going, oh, now there's one I remember. So we're moving up a little bit in time. Hopalong Cassidy also had a whole group of followers, and from his truth, he said, be truthful at all times. If you want to be respected, you must respect others. Already, for those of you who aren't aware of it, he's hinting at what we teach here called the law of attraction, or the law of consequences, the law of circulation. If you want something, you have to give that out. So he's already teaching that. This was decades ago, teaching that if you want to be respected, you have to respect others. And your good deeds always come to light, so don't boast or be a show-off. And I know the parents really love to have that one. This fellow, Wild Bill Hickok, now he actually was a real cowboy in his day from the late 1800s. He was the fellow who traveled, had a big traveling show. Annie Oakley was part of his show. He not only toured all over America to world expositions, but he went to Europe as well, introducing the idea of the cowboy to people in Europe. And part of his code was this: protect the weak and help them. Be kind to animals and care for them. Attend your place of worship regularly. Cowboys, cowgirls. And who doesn't know this guy? The Lone Ranger, of course. We all are familiar. Now we're getting to, now you're going, oh yeah, now I know. The Lone Ranger also had a group in his club, and it was, I believe that to have a friend, a man must be one. That all men are created equal, and that everyone has within himself the power to make this a better world. What a profound and beautiful truth to come from cowboy logic. And lastly, that all things change, but the truth, and the truth alone, lives on forever. And now you see we're getting more modern. This one's in color. The pictures are getting better. You all remember Roy Rogers, right? And you remember his horse? The horse's name was? Trigger. See, I knew we had you here. Roy Rogers, one of the great television heroes, cowboy archetypes. In his code, he said that we were to protect the weak and help them, to be kind to animals and to care for them, and to love God, and to go to Sunday school regularly. Yeah. Well, Roy Rogers was a Baptist, and that's okay. Well, I'll just out him with that, so that makes perfect sense. Nonetheless, do you see a recurring theme in some of these codes? You hear the theme of the importance of truth, the importance of honesty, the importance of kindness. Do you see the importance of offering respect and caring for people and animals? Now, these are part of the cowboy code that showed up in all of these different cowboys who didn't get together to do this. It was all created in different places, different times. These are not specifically American concepts in any way, shape, or form. Ideas of truth and kindness and compassion. Actually, one of my favorite cowboys is this guy. You might recognize him. There's the cowboy within the Buddha and all of us. The Buddha itself, if you look at the code of ethics that Buddha was teaching, he had an eightfold path in his code, and it was the right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration. He had his own kind of a cowboy code, and when you look at all the things that are in the cowboy code, and I only gave you a sprinkling of them, they are all reflected in Eastern theology as well. They're all rooted in truths and foundations that we know, and that's because an archetype is true for every culture, for every history, for every discipline, and every time. It crosses all religious boundaries. In fact, take a deep breath. Here's one of my favorite hidden cowboy characters. Yeah, you may recognize this cowboy. Jesus is the one who said if a man would have friends, he must show himself friendly. And that's part of the cowboy code. If you want to have friends, you got to be friendly. Jesus was the one who told the story of the Good Samaritan about taking care of the weak or those who were less fortunate. Jesus is the one that said, suffer the little children to come unto me, for such is the kingdom of heaven as those. When you look at the cowboy code, every one of those things that are in there are things that Jesus taught too. Because an archetype teaches that same fundamental value of truth. Truth is truth is truth. So, I want you today, my invitation, is to be in touch with your inner cowboy and cowgirl. And try not to resist it too much. Because if you would understand that those things that are fundamentally true in you as values, those things that you hold as core beliefs, they are manifested also in the cowboys. And so I hope that if you would meet someone who is a country western fan, instead of wrinkling up your nose, or saying, oh, he's just country. Understand that there is something in their archetype. There is something in their history and their foundation that you too can relate to. Something that is so true that it crosses all cultural boundaries and all cultural barriers and all geographical barriers, that it is the same for all people. And when you do that, then you too can get in touch with your inner cowgirl or your cowboy. And you might find the power, as Roy Rogers said, to change the world by who you are. And who knows? You might even come to like country music. I'm going to invite you to close your eyes with me for just a moment, please. This is a time in our community when we invite you to make a connection with the God of your being in the quietness of your own heart. And know that that God that you are meeting there has all of the qualities that we have been studying about today. And though we like to laugh about the Cowboy Sunday and the music, that their codes, their fundamental beliefs are just a reflection, again, of the truth that is constantly being called from us by the God of our being. And this is an opportunity then for us to know oneness. Oneness with God, oneness with all things. In these quiet moments, I invite you to feel that, to know it's true for you. As we connect with God now, each one of us, in the sacred and holy silence.